What up, Bugles? I want to welcome you to this video and to our Comics Bugle channel, your go-to spot for everything omnibus and oversized. It's Spooktober, and that means it's officially time to turn off the light, grab some blanket, and dive into some terrifying comic books. And yes, in this video, we'll explore some of the best among them. So let's get scared together. When people first hear The Walking Dead, they usually think of zombies, the shambling, flesh-eating monsters that turn the world upside down. But Robert Kirkman's groundbreaking comic series, launched in 2003 under Image Comics, was never truly about undead. At its core, The Walking Dead is a story about human nature under extreme pressure, about how society crumbles, rebuilds, and corrupts itself again and again when survival becomes the only law left standing. What makes the horror of The Walking Dead so haunting isn't just the gore or the constant threat of death. It's the realization that the real monsters are often the people still breathing. The walkers, as they are called, are horrifying but predictable. It's the living, the desperate, broken, and power-hungry survivors who embody the series' most chilling moments. From the Governor to Negan to the Whisperers, each antagonist reflects a different facet of humans' decay. Some crave control, others cling to violence or ideology, but all prove one thing: the apocalypse didn't create the monsters, it revealed them. Kirkman's writing thrives on this tension. Every major arc forces reader to confront moral gray zones. What's worth killing for? What's worth dying for? How far can compassion stretch before it becomes a weakness? These questions drive characters like Rick Grimes, Michonne, and Carl far more than any horde of zombies ever could. The series doesn't rely on jumpy scares. Instead, it builds slow psychological dread as trust erodes and communities fracture from within. One of the comic's greatest strengths is its emotional realism. Charles Adler's stark black and whites are stripped away color, forcing readers to focus on expression, emotion, and brutality. Every wound, every tear, and every act of mercy or cruelty hits harder in monochrome. The absence of color also makes the series feel timeless, as if the apocalypse could have happened yesterday or tomorrow. Behind the scenes, The Walking Dead was a gamble. Kirkman originally pitched it to Image as a straightforward zombie story, but when asked what made it unique, he improvised. He claimed the zombies were caused by aliens. That was a lie, but it got him the green light. Later, Kirkman admitted he never planned to explain the outbreak, keeping the focus entirely on people rather than mythology. That creative decision paid off. The comic ran for 193 issues and became one of the most influential horror series of the 21st century, with its own extremely successful cult classic TV show, which I'm not a fan by the way, and several spin-offs. Its message remains chilling and simple. It's not the dead you should fear, it's the living who will tear you apart. Few comics capture the haunting beauty of a myth and monster quite like Mike Mignola's Hellboy. It's a world where folklore breathes, where ancient ghosts lurk beneath ruined castles, and where humanity's greatest weapon against the darkness is, ironically, a demon. The story begins with a chilling premise. During World War II, Nazi occultists summoned a creature from hell, hoping to unleash chaos on Earth. But instead of becoming their weapon, the horrid red demon is found by the Allies and raised by the Professor Trevor Brattenholm. That creature becomes Hellboy, the world's most unlikely paranormal investigator, working for Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, aka B.P.R.D. His mission? Protect humanity from supernatural threats while grappling with his own destiny as the supposed harbinger of the apocalypse. What makes Hellboy so remarkable as a horror comic isn't just its monsters, it's what those monsters represent. Mignola doesn't rely on cheap scares or gore. His horror is literally folkloric and melancholic. The creatures Hellboy encounters, vampires, witches, ghosts, and pagan gods, feel like they have wandered out of forgotten myths. Each story draws on real-world folklore, from Slavic demons to Celtic fairies to Lovecraftian cosmic terrors. There is an overwhelming sense that these myths never died. They are merely hiding, waiting for someone like Hellboy to stumble upon them. Visually, Hellboy is iconic. Mignola's heavy use of shadow, stark line work, and minimalist composition create a world that feels scarred from darkness itself. Every panel breathes atmosphere, half gothic cathedral, half nightmare. The empty spaces speak as loudly as the monsters. His art is so distinct that Mignola's key has become a term in comic art circles. Mignola drew inspiration for everything from Dracula and Frankenstein to obscure European folk tales. He's described Hellboy as a monster story told with the heart of a fairy tale. The series also expanded into a vast interconnected universe, the Mignolaverse, including B.P.R.D, Ape Sapien, Lobster Johnson, and Witchfinder. Each of these spin-offs deepens the mythology, exploring how magic, gods, and horror intertwine across centuries. At its core, Hellboy is a tragedy disguised as a monster comic. It's about fate, free will, and the eternal struggle between what we are and what we choose to be. Hellboy may be a demon, but he's also a symbol of hope. The idea that even something born in hell can fight to the good. And that, perhaps, is a Mignola's greatest magic. He made a horror story about humanity's ability to defy its own darkness. There is something unsettlingly beautiful about Harrow County, a horror comic that feels like a Southern Gothic fairy tale whispered around a dynamic campfire. Written by Cullen Bunn and illustrated by Tyler Krug, the series debuted in 2015 under Dark Horse Comics and quickly became a modern classic of atmospheric horror. It's a story soaked in folklore, witchcraft, and the creeping dread of small-town secrets that refuse to stay buried. The tale begins with the execution of Hester Beck, a witch accused of unspeakable acts in the rural South. The townsfolk hang her from a tree, believing they have purged their home of evil. But years later, a young girl named Amy is born near that same cursed tree. As her 18th birthday approaches, she begins to realize she might be the reincarnation of the witch they killed. From that moment, Harrow County becomes a chilling journey through superstition, self-discovery, and the blurry line between good and evil. What sets the series apart is its quiet horror. The monsters here, called Haints, aren't always villains. Some are grotesque, some tragic, others heartbreakingly human. A boy skink that can detach and talk, a forgotten ghost roaming the fields, creatures made of mud and sorrow. Each haunting feels personal, tied to the land and its sins. The horror doesn't come from sudden violence, but from a deep, lingering sense of uneasy, like something ancient is always watching. Bunn's writing captures that timeless, folkloric voice as if the stories could have been passed down through generations of frightened farmers. His horror isn't about spectacle, it's about the weight of old magic and the fear that the past never really dies. Amy's struggle to understand her powers mirrors the eternal question: are we defined by what we are or by what we choose to be? Tyler Krug's watercolor art is nothing short of stunning. The soft, painterly texture contrasts the brutality of the story, creating a hauntingly dreamlike atmosphere. His use of color, earthy browns, blood reds, and eerie blues, makes Harrow County feel alive, and stuff the land itself breathes. At its heart, Harrow County is a story about heritage and horror, about how the evil we bury in the soil eventually finds its way back to the surface. In this world, magic isn't just real, it's patient, and it never forgets. In the quiet little town of Archer's Peak, children are dying, and the adults refuse to believe why. That chilling premise is the foundation of Something is Killing the Children, a comic that redefined modern horror storytelling. Written by James Tynion Ford and illustrated by Warren Del Adera, this series from Boom Studios has become one of the most acclaimed horror comics of the past decade. It's brutal, emotional, and deeply unsettling, a perfect storm of dread and empathy. Tynion, no stranger to fear, has built an impressive reputation in the horror genre with titles like The Nice House on the Lake and The Department of Truth. But Something is Killing the Children remains his crown jewel, his most powerful and universally beloved work. Here, Tynion takes the familiar tropes of monsters and mystery and infuses them with a heartbreak, trauma, and terrifying sense of the unknown. The story begins when a group of children vanishes in Archer's Peak. Only one boy returns alive, whispering impossible things about creatures in the dark. Then arrives Erica Slaughter, a mysterious, stoic young woman with glowing eyes, a bandana, and an unsettling calm around death. She's a part of a secret organization known as the House of Slaughter, whose members hunt monsters that most people can't even see. But these hunters are not heroes. They are bound by dark rules and moral compromises that makes them almost as frightening as the beasts they destroy. The horror in Something is Killing the Children works on multiple levels. The literal monsters, spindly, sharp-toothed nightmares that feeds on fear, are horrifying enough. But the true terror lies in what they represent: the inability of adults to confront the horrors their children face, the way trauma isolates survivors, and how institutions often protect secrecy over truth. Tiny storytelling is patient and tense, building an atmosphere where even silence feels dangerous. Werther Del Edera's art is a perfect match for this tone. His angular lines and haunting character designs give the series a raw, cinematic energy, while Miguel Muerto's muted color palette breathes everything in shadow and blood. The result is a world that feels both grounded and nightmarish, where light never seems to reach far enough. Tynion has mentioned that the idea for Something is Killing the Children came from his fascination with childhood fears. The belief that there really is something lurking under the bed. What began as a limited series quickly exploded in popularity, expanding into an entire Slaughterverse, including House of Slaughters and Book of Butcher. Something is Killing the Children isn't just a monster story. It's about how the fear shapes us, how trauma lingers, and how fragile our senses of safety truly is. It's horror with teeth, but also with soul. A reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones no one else believes are real. There's a certain kind of horror that doesn't just make you jump, it lingers, twisting itself around your heart like a memory you can't escape. That's the kind of horror Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez captured in Lock and Key, one of the most acclaimed modern horror comics ever written. Equal parts gothic fantasy, family drama, and psychological terror, this series transforms grief into dark magic and Houghton House into a labyrinth of nightmares and wonder. The story begins with a tragedy. After the brutal murder of their father, the Locke children's Tyler, Kinsey, and Bodie move with their mother to their ancestral home, Key House, in the sleepy town of Lovecraft, Massachusetts. But the mansion is far from ordinary. Hidden through its halls are mystical keys, each with a unique power. One lets you separate your soul from your body, another turns you into a ghost, another can open any door, even to death itself. And in the shadows beneath the wellhouse waits something ancient and malevolent, desperate to possess the keys and the world. At its core, Lock and Key is about trauma and transformation. The real horror isn't just the demons and monsters lurking in the dark, but the emotional wounds that characters carry. The locks are haunted not only by supernatural forces, but by guilt, grief, and the ways loss changed a person. Hill's writing blends supernatural terror with painfully human emotion. Every scream has a heartbeat behind it. The magic in Lock and Key feels both enchanting and sinister. Each key is a metaphor for power and temptation, the ability to escape your body, erase your fears, or reshape reality sounds wondrous, but it always comes with a cost. The series masterfully blurs the line between childhood imagination and adult horror, making the impossible feel disturbingly real. Gabriel Rodriguez's art amplified the unease. His clean, expressive line work contrasts beautiful with a grotesque imaginary, creating a world that feels like a dream on the verge of collapse. The sprawling design of Key House itself, full of secrets, symbols, and impossible architecture, feels like a living character. Lock and Key was born from Hill's lifelong love of horror and fantasy. Unsurprising given that he's a Stephen King son, though he built his reputation entirely on his own merit. The series ran for 6 main volumes and even inspired a Netflix adaptation, though most fans agree that comics are darker, richer, and infinitely more haunting, and overall just so much better. Ultimately, Lock and Key is a story about how we cope with loss and fear, how we try to lock away our pain, only to find the past always finds a key. It's a horror story with a soul, proving that sometimes the scariest doors are the ones we open inside ourselves. So, whether you are a hardcore horror fan or just looking for a good scare this Spooktober, these stories are guaranteed to haunt your imagination. And of course, you can find them in our e-shop, comicsbugle.com, your friendly neighborhood comic book shop in Europe. Except of great catalog of collected, deluxe, and absolute editions, epic collections, and omnibuses, we guarantee you eco-friendly Hulkproof packaging, free shipping in whole EU, an option to pre-order your comic book now and pay for it later. You can also split full price to 4 separate payments because we know how expensive these books can be. So check it out, comicsbugle.com. You can find direct links below this video. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out any further videos. In our comment section, let us know what other books or topics would you like to see in our videos. And see ya, Bugles!